All right, we're being joined now by safety Tyler Venables. You'll go into questions whenever you're ready.
I guess Tyler had 8 tackles, so why do you think you were so productive this one Saturday?
I would say just kind of letting the scheme work for me, I would say. Not trying to do too much, just focusing on details.
I guess it's as a defense, obviously you had that Wake Forest game, just a little bit of a shootout. What was the feeling after that game as it turned around for the next week?
Some of those games where you come down to the wire like that, I would say are necessary to build, because you can only really learn so much through success. And failure is a huge teacher. You're forged through fire daily on this practice field. And then especially, when the lights come on, it's a whole different element. And, matching routes and whatnot, you can only do so much in practice. And then so really getting that experience and getting some chemistry with our guys as a defensive unit is important. And so the trial by fire is necessary to build.
I think Coach Spain was saying that he didn't like the way you guys practiced on Tuesday, but then really turned around. What do you remember from that Tuesday practice?
We just weren't as intentional as we could have been with fine details and really doing the little things the right way. From footwork to putting your eyes in your keys and whatnot. We could have been a lot more intentional. And of course, this past week was it was a strength. It was good. Everybody, coaches, scout guys, players, all bringing that real intent, like squeezing every ounce of rep that we can get.
I guess did a coach say something, or did the players themselves say something after that Tuesday, or how did Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday kind of turn into what?
It was a mix of all of it. I think we've had some good leadership on this defense. As a team, obviously as a whole, our offense has done a tremendous job, and DJ has done a great job of leading them. And then we've had a lot of younger guys defensively step up, kind of bring us together and say, that's not what it looks like. That Tuesday, that's not the standard. And then so really changing up on Wednesday. And coaches pushing us too, of course.
I guess who were some of those younger guys?
I'm sorry?
Who would some of those younger guys be?
I don't know if I could single out one guy. Our whole too deep has gotten, tons of reps, throughout these first 4 games. Is that like 4? 5. I don't know. But yeah, we've that whole too deep has gotten tremendous rotation. Corners, we've had a lot of guys step up and play in critical moments. Safety, of course, too. Back we've got our too deep rotating constantly, and our D line, of course, as well. I would say our defensive line is been a real solid rock for us from a vocal standpoint and leadership. That's definitely the older group on the defense. So they've all done a great job.
It's y'all and Syracuse that are the lone unbeaten teams on your side of the conference. So you guys are in the driver's seat. Just describe how it feels to have kind of the control at this point.
I would just say we're kind of focusing down, doing what we're supposed to do. We don't really pay attention to who else is undefeated, I guess. We just kind of control what we can control, and that's a day-to-day basis thing. And this week it's Boston College, so our focus is all on them. Whether we're 5-0 or 0-5, this is our game this week, and that's all we can really focus on.
What do you think was the biggest reason for the turnaround against Wake Forest, or NC State after the Wake Forest game?
I'd go back to the trial by fire. You can only get so much experience through practice, and I think our chemistry has really come together. The past couple of games before the NC State game, I think we were playing really separate from each other from a position standpoint, and that kind of showed. And so this NC State game gave us a lot of chemistry. We really kind of flowed together, from like zone drops to man coverage to fit and B gaps. I got to trust my DN that he's gonna lever that ball into that B gap. And if I have 1 ounce of mistrust with him, I'm going to be hesitant down, and he's got to have the same trust with me that he knows where I'm going to be, and you get that that slow mixture through game repetition.
So when you say like positions playing separate from each other, what do you mean?
Just not seeing the whole picture, as a defensive structure. If you really want to play like up here, you got to know what everybody else around you's doing, so you can be comfortable. If I'm holding the curl in the trio set, I got to be waiting for that mic to come push so I can push through and take my flat route. But if I don't trust that he's going to push through, I'm going to be holding it. I'm going to be late. So just the chemistry and zone drops, man coverage, whatnot.
Tyler, I gotta say, sitting here listening to you, it sounds like, listening to your dad for the last 10 years, right here. Is it, I know you made peace with, your family situation a while ago. Is this any different for you that, hey, my family who was usually here during football season is not here right now?
A little bit,
Yeah.
I'd say the past couple of years, I was, I don't know. I guess I didn't want it as much for myself as I do now.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't want it, but it's just a different perspective seeing it. I've kind of fallen in love with the philosophy and structure of defense too over the past since January. I'd say from a whole new perspective. I guess that's part of the reason why, kind of being on my own.
Yeah.
I guess just as a locker room, you guys were 3-2 at this point in the season last year, to 5-0 now. How would you compare how you guys were feeling at that point to the way the locker room is now?
I would say last year we weren't, going back to what you said, we weren't really in control of our destiny. You lose some of those division games and you're kind of hoping, like, all right, well, I hope this team and this team and this team, fall off, so then therefore we can have a spot. But we're so far in control of our own destiny. We've done everything that we could, and you can't be any better than 5-0 right now. Win or loss or how ugly or pretty they are, we're 5-0, and still in control in the driver's seat of our own destiny.
So what do you remember about that Boston College offense from a couple of years ago? I know that first half they kind of had you guys on your heels before you were able to kind of recover and come back a little bit.
2020, 21.
In 2020.
Yeah. I think they kind of controlled the line of scrimmage defensively. They got some punch off the ball. They had a solid run game going, and they max pro'd up a lot. I remember that. A lot of cross-country routes. Quarterback's very accurate, very comfortable in his system, and I think in order for us to kind of make sure that doesn't happen again, like in 2020, we got to dominate the line of scrimmage like we did in the NC State game. They did a great job. And then, just communications and zone coverage and man coverage and knowing responsibilities, who's got the post, got the air, whatnot. Kind of seeing the picture as a whole, not getting too locked up in the run game from a safety and corner perspective, because they do a lot of play action.
So you talked about some of those young players going through the fire. I mean, do you yourself go to some of those young DBs and try to give them confidence, or what do you do in the moment?
Like in the moment when, something bad happens?
Yeah.
You try to not really even focus on it, because the moment you don't want to go and point it out to them too much, because they've already got guys coming up to them saying, hey man, it's all right, it's okay. They don't want to keep hearing that, so you give it to them a little bit, you pull them aside away from, the unit when we're on the sideline. You don't want to do it in front of everybody. I'm like, look man, that happens, it's part of the game. Like, that's why we do what we do, and that's why we compete at such a high level, because you're going to lose some one-on-ones. You're going to lose some of those plays. That's just being in the arena. That's how it's going to be. But just continue to build up and letting them see the positive in, losing that rep. It's like, all right, well, now you know not to do that again, and you're going to make sure you don't do it again, because the stove's hot. It's like you just touched it, and you're going to be very intentional in making sure you don't touch it again.
I guess, do you see other different level of confidence and more, sticking to the technique last week for some of those younger guys when you go back and look at the film?
Yeah, I think we just looked a little bit more savvy, just disguising stuff and moving around, just guys getting more comfortable, and that just comes through game repetition, being under the lights.
Any questions for Tyler from Zoom?
Tyler, go ahead, Matt. Yeah, I was just going to follow up on Pete's question from earlier. I was just wondering, during the season, do your dad still talk all the time? And if so, is that talking football? Is it talking life? Just what's it kind of like? What's y'all's relationship like now?
Yeah, we do a good bit of FaceTiming, or try to. Our schedules are pretty similar, so we have windows at the same time pretty much, but we're just so busy. It's like tonight we're going to be done 9:30, 10 o'clock, so trying to find those windows where we can, and then not really talking football. We don't talk football anymore. If I have a question, I'll still ask him what he thinks about this, or how I should play something in a certain coverage or whatever. We just, how's class going? How's your life? What are you doing? Stuff like that. I'm trying to stay away from football. It's just so chaotic.
Thank you.
You took my question, Matt. Thanks, Tyler.
Sure.
Tyler, Chapel Fowler with the state. Specific to those young guys, what did you see from Sherrod Goble in the state game, and how's he kind of grown, in your opinion, in that safety room?
Yeah, Sherrod likes to hit people, I would say. He comes downhill. He was definitely one of the faster guys back there in the back seven as a whole. And he's not afraid to come downhill. But, he's just a young guy. He only knows what he knows so far, and, what he's already done with the limited knowledge that he has through the repetitions that he's got. Just shows how high his ceiling is going to be and how great of a player he will be.
Is the foot okay?
Yeah, it was, there's this girl in my class, and so I didn't know what to say to her, so I thought this would be a good conversation. No, it's I just, yeah, it's good.
Thanks, T-Bone.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you guys.
Hang tight. We'll be joined here